Twins RFL. Coming at you. Mr. Anderson here, coming at you from beautiful Branner Mill in the south side. Holidays are upon us. Sitting here with my buddy, having a few Beast Reds, the official sponsor of RU's Crunkest. Been our sponsor since our inaugural year in 2004. When this fine gentleman called me about a half hour before the draft was supposed to occur that year and invited me to join this prestigious league of gentlemen. Little known fact, my first draft pick ever in the RFL. Do you know who it was?
Marshall Falk.
Marshall fucking
Marshall
Falk.
Falk. I do remember that.
In 2004. Granted, this was a good 3 years after Falk was at the prime of his fantasy
No. He had a little tread left on the tire, I think. He really didn't pan out, but it doesn't matter because we need to fast forward to last year and you picking up your first championship.
First title?
Yeah.
Big year last year.
Mm-hmm.
Things came together.
That's
Very balanced team last year.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford, big year. Marshawn Lynch. Last year's team was more of a passing-oriented team. This year we had more of a power game. Alfred Morris, Marshawn Lynch.
More of a ground and pound, I guess you would call it.
You would call it that.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford really shit the bed for us, but that's for another day and time.
It's okay, I know all about that, but that's about right. We've had a pretty interesting year as far as the teams go, as far as who has been competitive, who hasn't been competitive, who's underachieved, and who's overachieved. And before we get to the championship game, we just want to hit on a few things that are going around the league, and maybe we can address them. And we can go from there. Jeff, who are you surprised with as far as coming up short this year and guys that overachieved this year?
Well, if you look at the RFL this year, if you look at teams that you really thought this was their year, you got to look at the Senny All-Stars.
Oh yeah,
a team that from the get-go started out strong, kind of fizzled a little bit in the beginning, but they're a team that I really thought was going to make it out of the Big South. The Southern Conference, but this didn't do it. They went down to a pretty decent RU's Crunkest team in the wild card round of the playoffs. But Senny, the elusive trophy.
Do you think that with the talent given to the Senny All Stars, that you would have expected more than maybe just a first round playoff exit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. If you look at his team.
They're stacked. Absolutely. I mean, talent. All
the muzzle
over
hamster.
Yep.
Matt Ryan.
Julio Jones.
Julio, that great connection there. Who the hell is their tight end?
I don't.
Either way, they put up a lot of points. Didn't put up as much points as little brother Seneca,
Steve. It's true.
I mean, Steve put up 102 points a game, which is fucking amazing. If you look at, I'm not sure about the history of the RFL, but 102 points a game, has that ever been surpassed? There were some great teams.
When we were a smaller league.
Right. Not in the modern 16-team era.
Yeah. Oh, got an appearance here.
Hey, Leia.
Anyway,
Senny's underachieving, certainly. Still, that elusive RFL trophy. Teams overachieved. I think you got to look at Steve Coggins. Steve Coggins, let me get the dog out of here. Was ballsy, took Andrew Luck with his lottery pick. Things panned out pretty well. Granted, he went 6-7 in a relatively poor Northern Conference, but 6-7 playoff team. I would say Steve Coggins is certainly the overperformer.
I mean, I don't know how he was able to make the playoff. Beating me twice doesn't hurt, but I can just tell you from a talent standpoint, astounded. He must be a hell of a coach because I never understood. But when we go back to guys with a lot of talent on their team that aren't achieving to that level, I think we have to mention Lucas Dooley. If
you look at his team, look at Brady, Arian Foster, Andre Johnson. Those are the three guys year in, year out, which you expect to be on any fantasy championship team. It hasn't been the case with Lucas Dooley. not sure what the case was this year, but he never put things together. I think if you look at teams that win RFL championships, they are very deep teams.
Yeah.
It's not 2 or 3 guys. It's generally you have five players that are in the top 10 each of their respective positions, and with Lukey's, he's never been able to put that together. So moving on here, we're going to make a phone call coming in to us via satellites from beautiful Utah.
The Beehive State.
The Beehive States, my comrade in arms tells me. We're gonna get the man, the myth, the legend, Dan Kashurba.
Dan Kashurba. Okay.
On the phone.
All right. Hang on one second.
Big Dan, of course, dropped out of the league this past year. No longer affiliated with the Noise Clan Quad 8. Wells is running the team solo now with, some would say, some help from the gentleman next to me, but that's neither here nor there. So we got Big Dan Cash coming at you from Salt Lake City, living out there with his beautiful wife. And, we're just going to ask Dan a few questions. Questions about...
Hello.
Hey, who do we got on the phone here?
Hey, this is Danny Kashurba. I'm here in Salt Lake City, the city of 1,000 lakes.
I think that might be Minnesota.
Big Dan, how are things out in the Butterfly State?
That's right. Beehive State.
Beehive State.
I can't hear what you're saying. Am I on speaker? Am I on speaker, fan?
Yeah, I put you on speaker so the rest of the RFL could hear you.
Oh, no, this is the whole RFL. Hey, RFL. I hope everyone's doing well. I won't be able to make it in. This time of year is very busy for me. We're doing a lot of promotions at work. You get your little Hershey Kisses. We put them in little red and green wrappers to celebrate the Yuletide seasons.
That sounds good, Big Dan Cash. Any plans on returning to coaching in the near future, or are you strictly a family man now?
Well, it's interesting to say that. It's very interesting to say that indeed. Because I had actually had some talks with Seneca Contreras, and he had said that there may be some way of me getting back into the league. I feel slighted. I feel like I was kicked out of my team because Ian Anderson always logged in to do our lineups, and I was like, hey, Ian, this is me and Wells' team. This isn't your team. How many teams can you have? It was a little bit dimp is what it was, and I don't use that term lightly. It was dimp. So I thought maybe I could get back in the RFL. I've had some talks with some other coaches, and there might be something in the works. You ready to see me back in there?
Fair enough, Big Dan. Any plans to come back east for the holidays? Are you pretty set out there in, what do we call it, the Butterfly State?
Beehive State.
Beehive State.
Hey, let me tell you something else. When your wife has titties as big as mine does, there's not much you need to do except stay right here in between us.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh, just in there. I am just all up in there. It's cozy. I'm not going anywhere.
Fair enough, Big Dan. Anything else from Coach Anderson here?
Now, Danny, we've always. Oh, this is Ian Anderson here. Danny, how are you doing?
Hey, Ian, how are you? How's things dress up in the war going?
It's going great, man.
Hey, Big Dan, let me tell you, we got that Hershey gift basket, and I really appreciate it, man. Great thoughts this time of year, and really have been enjoying those Hershey Kisses, the holiday green, red wrappers. Oh, it's a great touch, and I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, and I want to wish everyone in the RFL the merriest of Christmases. And I also want to wish Seneca Happy Hanukkah, because I know he's the most Jewish man I know.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, that sounds
fair
good.
enough, Big Dan.
Let's go. Come on.
Happy New Year. I've got to go.
Hey, happy holidays, Big Dan. We'll talk to you soon.
Love you guys. Kisses. Hand jobs.
Take care, buddy. So, as you've heard, that's of course Big Dan Cash. Really, for many years, and a critical part of this league. Of course, moved on to bigger and better things.
It's good to hear he's doing well, though.
Hey, I'm happy.
Good.
Hey, here, it's a Big Dan Cash.
Big Dan Crunch. Big Dan
Doing
Crunch.
well. But we move on to some discussion of the overall state of the RFL and some coaches that haven't really been putting their teams in a position to win ball games. The Andy Reeds, if you will, of
North
the
Turners, maybe?
The North Turners, if
Yeah.
you will.
North
So if you look
Turners.
at the coaches on the hot seat in the RFL, if you look at a team that's last year went 4-9. No, last year went 2-11.
No, 2-11.
This
that's
year
right.
goes 4-9. The RIC, please believe it.
Yeah, yeah.
That team is not good, Ian.
No, Jeff, I don't think it is. And what hurts more is the fact that the team hasn't done that well this year. But the other thing, would you expect that to come from the fact that they draft Greg Jennings #1 overall, and then have Trent Richardson fall to Steve Campanellis at the second spot?
Definitely a poor draft pick, but I think there's deeper issues with the.
No, you think it goes
Please
deeper than
believe
that?
It's, Greg Jennings. People get hurt. Every team has injuries.
That's true. But here's my deal: would you draft a 31-year-old wide receiver over a rookie running back?
I probably would not do that, Ian.
Would not do that.
Would
You hear
not.
that?
I repeat,
Would not
would
do
not.
that.
But Richardson fell to Steve, which of course was a gamble. There's no telling what rookie running backs are going to do in this league. Although Richardson's a fucking monster, so that hurt him. Joe Flacco is not a good fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, anytime they fire their offensive coordinator, that's not a good sign.
So a team that's granted they won 2 more games this year than they did last year, and they're going in the right direction. Still very terrible.
So 2 more years from
Terrible
now,
team.
they'll have 8 wins.
That's right. So we got Timmy. We've got a team that's on paper dollars year you would think it would be in the RFL Championship. The Rocky Top Wizenators, Coach Dooley's team, they really haven't been achieving. A team that has Tom Brady, a team that has Andre Johnson, a team that has Arian Foster, who apparently just bought his whole O-line Segways. Which I think is pretty good.
That's
holiday gift.
Pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
I would like that.
So, what do you think is the issue with Coach Dooley?
It's
Team that
tough
can't
to
get there.
say. It's just I feel like when he has the talent that he does, he either can't seem to get the supporting talent around there.
Right.
And that's really what's causing him a lot of duress, I feel, is the fact that he can't find a second running back. He can't find a complimentary wide receiver or a tight end or even a defense that's going to be able to get you that 15 to 20 that you need to complement these guys.
Sure. Well said.
And it's been 3 years, and I think that at some point they're going to need to sit down and evaluate things at that team, in that franchise.
So we've got Coach Selden, Coach Dooley, certainly underperforming. Jobs may or may not be in jeopardy. If you look at the Spiffies, team managed by Coach Carter, Coach Chase.
See, here's the deal. What's so alarming about this particular team, in my opinion, is that even the really bad teams in the league tend to have a plan. They'll stick with something for a couple years, try to develop it, and if it doesn't pan out, they move on. But for me, it just seems like every year they're trying to rebuild, and they just really don't ever put the nucleus together to be a better team. What do you think?
Right. No, I think that, certainly most teams are built over the years through keepers.
Mm-hmm.
This year, the Spiffies were at a significant disadvantage by keeping Vernon Davis.
Now, I am a Vernon Davis fan, but
he's not a
over Frank Gore, though. That's the big one.
So you got that issue there with keeping a tight end that is certainly not elite. Very good tight end, very serviceable tight end, but not elite by any means.
I'm going to agree to disagree here because I'm a 49er fan, but as far as fantasy goes, I think I would keep a running back that went over 1,000 yards again this year over a tight end.
And where's Frank Gore from, college-wise?
University of Miami.
The U. Everyone's from the U.
That's right.
Put the U's up. Put
Yep.
the U's up.
U's up.
So, certainly Carter underachieving. If you look at Wells' team, or the team that's often run by this guy right next
That's
to him.
alleged, and nobody knows. And I can tell you this right now, since I'm on national television, every single person in this league has called me for advice. So I really don't care what any of you say, because you're always calling me for advice, and it's a dead issue. And any more of that, you will receive a cease and desist letter from my attorney.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But if you look at the team, it's hard to say that they're suffering because
took a gamble. I feel like him keeping Ryan Matthews, who has the talent, can never stay healthy. LaShawn McCoy, he is along with that disaster that is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm.
And Eli Manning really has let him down.
Eli Manning is not a good fantasy quarterback.
No.
He does his work in January when
It's true.
all of us coaches are
It's true.
golfing,
Yep.
drinking booze,
Yep.
being wholly unproductive, which is not really relevant for us. So, certainly Wells' team underperforming. So, we move on now to the game, the only game that really matters this
The
week.
big game.
You've got the Yote squad coming out of the Southern Conference, taking on the villain of the RFL, the team over there in Woodlake, the Seafield Victory Backs, looking for their second trophy.
The second championship.
So, what are some thoughts on this game regarding breakdown? If you look at, for instance, let's look at the quarterback position. What do you think about RG3 taking on Tony Romo?
It would be Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning, excuse me.
Tough to say. I mean, Peyton has got a favorable matchup. He's playing against Cleveland, which I guess I don't know as far as their secondary goes as opposed to their run defense. But you have RG3 in a playoff hunt against a terrible fucking pass defense in the Philadelphia Eagles. Who do you like better in this matchup?
Terrible. The Eagles, terrible. Just terrible.
He scored 4 touchdowns last time he played
against the Cleveland Browns also against Kirk Cousins this past week did
That's
awful
true.
as well. So, I mean,
That's
you've
true.
got two favorable matchups. I can see both quarterbacks going for 25 points easily. But I think I've got to go with a healthy Peyton Manning to tear up Cleveland defense, which made Kirk Cousins look like Joe Namath. So I'm going to give the edge to the V-backs in this one. If you look at the running back matchups, Steve going with Trent Richardson and then
At
three
Denver.
wide at Denver. And then if you look at the Yote squad,
CJ Spiller at Miami.
CJ Spiller. And then is he going three wide as well?
No, he's got Jamal Charles playing
Charles.
Indianapolis.
But if you look at Trent Richardson going up against Denver, very conceivably you can see Cleveland being down big early in that game, and them going away from the rush. And if you look at the rushing numbers for Richardson, granted he's had a few touchdowns in the past 2 weeks, but he has 70 yards combined in the past 2 weeks rushing.
Well, let me ask you
Terrible.
this. He had 60 yards last week, but he had 2 scores.
Two
So
scores.
let's say that
He had
Cleveland-
28 yards last week.
Okay. Cleveland still gets into the red zone. Eventually, it's an eventuality.
Right.
He's going to get the look.
Agreed. But also, if you look on the other side at the Yote squad, you've got CJ Spiller, who's the man now in Buffalo with Fred
Sure.
Jackson being out. Jamal Charles, he's the man, but the Chiefs are terrible, and they have problems getting first downs, moving the ball.
It's true.
I would say in regards to this running back / receiver slide, it's pretty even. It's pretty even. I don't necessarily see much production out of the running back slot. If you look at wide receivers,
Now, he's got Steve's first wide receiver is going to be Des Bryant against the New Orleans Saints.
Des Bryant against the Saints. Des Bryant.
I think that's a good matchup. The Saints can't stop anybody on defense. The Cowboys are in the playoff hunt, so they're going to try to put points on the board. Their
Yeah.
defense is terrible.
Yeah.
I like Des to put some points on the board, but it'll come down to can Jamal Charles at the Colts counter that. I think he can. I think Jamal Charles can come out there, especially in a dome where he's a little faster, and put up the points he needs.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, if you look at the last 3 slots, the tight ends, the defense, and the kicker. If you look at tight end matchup, we got Scott Chandler versus
Tony
the man, the
Gonzalez.
myth, the legend, Tony G
Tony
from
Cal.
Bears. Cal Bears. Go Bears.
He's at Detroit. Scott Chandler is at Miami.
Mm.
I got to give him one touchdown. I'll give him a touchdown.
Between the two.
No, I'm going to give that to Tony Gonzalez.
Tony G drops one in. He's really had a renaissance year, big year.
For his last
Tony
year, he
G.
says it's his last year.
Says it's last year. A little known fact, and I know Steve will appreciate me saying this, the only years in which Steve has missed the playoffs is when Tony G has not been a member of the V-backs. Some crazy shit,
Very
huh?
telling. Very telling.
So you look at that. I'm going to go with the edge there with the V-backs. Certainly, the tight end spots. But if you look at defense, Steve has the Baltimore Ravens going.
Against
Ravens
the Giants.
Against the Giants. A Ravens team that has injuries at every single
They're
position.
ranked like 26.
You've got Ray Lewis out. You've got a banged up Terrell Suggs. You've got Ed Reed out. You've got their best cornerback in Lardarius Webb out.
For the year.
A very banged up team. A team that's only scored 1 point combined the past 2 weeks. Baltimore defense, much to my chagrin. But they're a very banged up team. I don't see them doing much against the Giants. I know Eli had a bad week last week against Atlanta, but I don't see them doing much against the Giants. Looking at the other side, you've got Miami, a Miami team that's
Still in the playoff hunt.
still in the playoff hunt, but they've averaged just under 4 points a game at home this season, which most fantasy defenses do much better than that at home.
Not a home field advantage is what we're looking at here.
So if you look at that, I'm gonna have to go with, it's a toss up. Who you got?
This one is a push. But like I said, I like how the Dolphins are still in the playoff hunt. I think they're going to come out hungry. But at the same time, Neil's going to shoot himself in the foot because he's got 2 players going against that defense, in Scott Chandler and C.J. Spiller. So I don't expect to see too much production there. But he's kind of killing himself or shooting himself in the foot rather.
Yeah.
So I'm curious there. Now let me ask you this: we have Calvin Johnson and Victor Cruz versus Michael Crabtree and Aaron Decker.
I think you've got to go with Calvin Johnson and Victor Cruz. Cruz had a terrible game last week against the Atlanta Falcons, but I think you got to think that Cruz against a banged up, terrible, susceptible Baltimore D, as well as Calvin Johnson playing Atlanta, I believe, on Saturday night. Atlanta's been very good defense overall. I think they're ranked 9th fantasy-wise, but other than that, I do have to give the nod to the Yote squad there. I think Coach Neal's going to have those guys ready to play. Word on the street is that Yote squad has enforced a no chronic smoking ban this week.
What?
Adam Schefter of ESPN reporting that his team has been smoke-free since their victory over the Crunkus on Sunday nights. So they may come to this game a little more clear-headed than usual. On the flip side, Coach Cheese has required that his entire squad stay at his residence this week.
A little packed. Have a little daughter and now
Chris Morrison reporting that he has actually moved his daughter's crib into the garage. Has Des Bryant and Michael Crabtree with twin beds in that bedroom. Coach Cheese looking for that second trophy, and it's hard to blame him. Football comes first, family second. So if you look at the matchup as a whole, who you got? You got the Yote squad first trophy, or you got the Seafield D-backs?
This is tough. I think this all comes down to either Yote squad. You're either going to score in the 60-point range, or you're going to have a plus 120 game. I don't understand. I don't want to question your coaching methods.
Well, it's going to be a low-scoring affair.
You think so?
I do.
So no team goes over 100 points. Is that what you're saying?
It's going to be low-scoring.
And I think, in my opinion, this game will be decided after the Cleveland-Denver game. If we can figure out what Steve is going to do, or what he gets out of Peyton Manning and Aaron Decker and Trent Richardson, I think we'll know by then. So, I want to say, you know what? I don't even have to do the projection. You have to do the projection.
Fair enough.
Where are we going here? 2012 RFL champion.
Well, I think if you look at the matchup on paper, says Seafield V-backs all the way. I think they have a better team. I mean, they scored 102 points a game this year. Very good team. Neal coming in, not nearly as good. I think Neal was the 5th highest scoring team in the Southern Conference, the 3rd highest scoring team in the Big Four. So he benefited immensely from a schedule that's was a bit weak at times. That being said, it takes a lot of luck to win championships. You don't necessarily have to score
That is
120
true.
points a week.
That
You
is
can
true.
get by winning, as Neil did last week, 86 to
true.
80. So I think it's his year. I think the Yote squad takes this one. It's going to be a rager in Woodland Heights Sunday night after they take down their first RFL trophy. I got the Yote squad in this one. I think Steve goes back to the drawing board with a very, very good team, a very good season, very good bounce back from last year's debacle. We'll see you all on Sunday, hopefully,
And
all afternoon.
again, this episode has been brought to you by Milwaukee's Best Red. And
Choose on taste, and please drink responsibly.
Hey, cheers, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
Happy holidays,
Happy
RFL.
holidays.
Merry Christmas. God bless.